Welcome to the Visibility Strategies for Women Entrepreneurs podcast, where we empower female business owners to step boldly into the spotlight and claim the recognition they deserve. I'm your host, Tori Barker. I'm passionate about helping women like you transform your visibility into tangible business success. Each week on this show, we'll dive deep into game-changing strategies, share inspiring success stories from women who've mastered their visibility, and offer practical, actionable advice you can implement immediately. Whether you're just starting your entrepreneurial journey, pivoting your business model, or ready to elevate your existing presence to new heights, you'll discover effective approaches to create exciting opportunities and expand your reach. So let's harness the power of strategic visibility and grow your business together. Welcome to the show. What if your marketing strategy became your business's secret weapon instead of an afterthought? In this episode, I sit down with Sara Nay, CEO of Duct Tape Marketing, to talk about the next revolution in small business marketing. We cover how AI is transforming strategy and execution, why visibility starts with leadership, and how to simplify your system so your business can finally scale. If you're feeling overwhelmed, this conversation will give you clarity, confidence, and next steps. Hey, Sara, thanks so much for being on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to chat with you more.
Yes, so I am super excited to obviously have you as a guest, have you share your knowledge and your experience. So why don't you tell everyone who's listening just a little bit about you before we dive into some deep conversation?
Of course. So my name is Sara Nay. I'm the CEO at Duct Tape Marketing. I've been with Duct Tape Marketing for coming up on 15 years now. And so I've been a part of the business for a while. I started as an intern, essentially part-time intern originally, deciding if this is actually something I wanted to pursue or not, and then worked my way through different roles in the company. So I served as account manager and fractional CMO to our clients and sat in the COO seat for a number of years. And then this past December, stepped into the CEO seat. So I've experienced multiple different roles in a marketing agency, and have learned a lot over the years working with clients.
I love that. I mean, it's so great to be able to learn as you grow, right? And see every facet of the business. And that really helps you in the role that you are today, so that you know, like from the ground up, like where you want to go and how you help the clients that you have and the team that you have in internally. So it's amazing to have that lived
Yeah, it's
experience, if you will.
yeah, absolutely. I agree. I tell people all the time that it's made me a better leader to the people that I lead and manage because I know what it's like to be an account manager. I know what it's like
Yeah.
to be a fractional CMO. I know the challenges and I know what it looks like to be close to burnout because I've lived through all of those experiences. And so it helps me be able to relate and empathize with the people that I'm managing versus more of a dictator type of role. So
Yeah.
it's helped. It's helped.
It absolutely totally makes you a better leader. So,
Yeah.
for the people who don't know, tell us a little bit about duct tape marketing and what you guys do.
Course. So we've been around as a business for almost 30 years now. And over that time, we've always served the small business space. And so we have two sides of our business. One side is we are a fractional CMO agency ultimately. So we come in and we work with small businesses in a range of industries. We create a marketing strategy as an initial engagement, and then we stay on as a fractional CMO. So that's always been a part of our business that we've done for the past 30 years or so. And then the other side of our business, we've been running for the past 15-ish years, and we certify marketing consultants, fractional CMOs, small agencies in our approach. So they're able to come into small businesses, lead with strategy, and stay on in a leadership role.
Love that. I love that you have both sides of it, right? Because there's a need for both. And with the company and the systems and the strategy first that you guys lead with, it's not only beneficial to the agencies and the fractional CMOs, but also to the clients who you come in as a fractional CMO too. So it's just amazing to have, both sides of that you guys can support with this foundational system and strategy that you guys have implemented over the years.
Yeah, and they relate together very nicely as well, because in the small business space, when we're working with clients, we're learning, we're evolving, we're testing, we're growing, and then we're
Yeah.
taking that and we're educating other marketing consultants and agencies in all the things that we've learned to help them, improve how they're serving clients as well. So they've always very closely related to each other and supported each other, which has been great.
Yeah. It's almost like when you have a business that does I don't know, uh, gosh, well, marketing agencies, you start with one thing, like you start with a website and then you have a need for SEO, right? So you're like, oh, it's another layer I can add on to it. So it's always nice to have that, additional benefit that you can offer your clients. So
Yeah, and
that's
I mean,
amazing.
it's a good point on, like, with marketing agencies layering on. That's one of the challenges in small businesses, is finding one provider that can help
Mm,
with all of marketing, because there are a lot of people out there that offer SEO or content production or website development. And so where I've seen small businesses struggle over the years is they're basically building teams. So they maybe have like some internal people, and then they have like an agency over here doing this thing, and then a freelancer over here doing this thing, and someone else is managing their ads over here, and there's no true leadership in place. And that's
yeah,
where marketing can feel very complex, confusing, frustrating, overwhelming, all of those things, is when you
yeah.
have so many people working kind of individually
Hmm.
versus one cohesive team. And it can still be a collective of individual people, but one cohesive team led by strategy and led by
Yeah,
someone that's really owning the whole vision for marketing. And
yeah,
oftentimes in small businesses, like, that falls onto the CEO's plate. And so now all of a sudden the CEO is the CMO and the CEO, and all of the other, putting out all the other fires that come along the way. And
yeah.
so it's a challenging space with small business budgets to really be able to control marketing. And so that's a lot of what we provide to our clients, as we come in and we create the strategy and we stay in the leadership role, so the CEO or the founder can stay in that seat and not being straddling both of them.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you mentioned briefly the strategy piece of it, and I want you to talk a little bit more about that because I obviously am a big proponent of strategy first, right? Like
Yep.
if you don't have a plan, you can't execute on a goal. So I know that you guys have started implementing a new approach to the strategy first with this boom of AI and technology and all of this stuff, and it's kind of changing the way that the agency model is being approached. So I'd love to hear how you guys are taking the a stab at that new approach with your strategy first and AI implementation.
Of course, and I'm actually writing a book on that exact title, that exact topic,
Love
and it's
it.
my first book, so it's coming out hopefully in the next few months from now. But as you said, we've been doing strategy for businesses for the entire existence of duct tape marketing. Like that, we've always been saying strategy first, strategy first, strategy first. But up until recently, we were always creating that strategy for humans, so people within company, for our team to get up to speed. Like, that was always while we were doing it. And so in the last, year or so, we've been shifting to create that marketing strategy for both humans and AI, to train AI effectively moving forward. So we're using AI to assist with the strategy research process. But then once we create the marketing strategy, we're then using all of the documents and stuff that we create to then train AI systems for our clients to be able to use those systems for execution moving forward. Because there's a lot of challenges when we're talking strategy and execution in the small business space. A lot of companies haven't created the strategy, or if they've created the strategy, it sits in Google Drive and they don't do a lot with it. And so now we have the opportunity that we haven't had before in the small business space, to take the strategy that we create, to build out AI systems to then actually execute on the strategy moving forward. And so I think it's a really exciting time to move from strategy to execution for small businesses.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing because like you said, they'll either have a strategy that they've done, 5 years ago, whatever,
Yeah.
and it just sits in a Google Doc or it's in the CEO's brain, but nobody else has knowledge of it or they haven't executed or updated it. And now with this technology and a lot of people, as you know, are fearful of AI, like it's going to take over jobs and all these things that you hear in the media. But as marketing people, I'm sure you can agree that it's a tool, it's a resource, it's something to amplify what you do, help you do it better, and streamline all of the things that you do. And so, with the strategy first and this technology, hopefully that strategy they put together, it's not going to go away, right? It's going to be in the forefront of everything that they do, the content that they create, you know, the conversations that they have, the funnels that they build, whatever it might be. I'm excited to kind of see how this evolves for you guys and follow along.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way I think about AI as well for our team and for our clients' teams is it's not replacing humans, but if you do it strategically and you go through, we have a strategy period, marketing strategy pyramid, which the bottom layer is business strategy. So you need to understand like what's the business trying to accomplish, what's the
Yeah,
mission, vision, values, goals, all of those things. And then you can create the marketing strategy piece, which is the middle part. And for us, marketing strategy is brand strategy, growth strategy, and customer strategy. So that's all within the middle layer. And then the top layer is team strategy. And so that's where team strategy has shifted to humans plus AI instead of just humans. But if you haven't
yeah,
worked on the business strategy and the marketing strategy and you bring in team or AI, you're just causing complication. And so that's where when we work with clients, and if you're listening to this and you haven't created a marketing strategy, like start with your business strategy, then create your marketing strategy, and then analyze your team and ask yourself, how can we up level the people on our team to make more of an impact versus replace them? And so,
yeah,
for example, let's say you have someone that's writing a lot of content on your team right now. There are really great AI solutions to help you with writing content. And so that person should no longer be, sitting down and researching manually and writing an outline manually and writing the first draft manually. They still obviously need to be very involved in like a blog writing process, but instead of doing all of those things, you can elevate them to more of orchestrating and editing and managing the process. And so
yeah,
now instead of sitting down and doing all those steps, they might use like a chat GPT for a deep research report on a specific topic. And then they might take that and they might turn it into an outline within chat GPT. And then they might, write a first draft within chat GPT as long as it's been trained properly on the voice and the brand and the guidelines
yeah,
initially. And then their role is editing it to then get it to the point where they're proud of it and they're ready to put it on the blog or whatever the next step might be. And so that's just an example of how can you, again, you're not replacing your team member, but now they have these tools
hmm
that like you can pull a deep research report in like 10 minutes. That's probably going to get even
yeah,
faster. But you can now pull this incredible deep research report on any topic in a very short amount of time to then write better content in the end. Where before, to find all the information in a deep research report would have taken you hours upon hours upon hours.
right,
And so ask yourself, how can we elevate our team to do better work and to take on even more capacity as it makes sense and to think like humans as
hmm
well? Because that's another thing that I think AI is allowing us to do is you're not in the weeds doing all of the things. So you're able to think about connection and emotions and clients and communication and big picture and strategy, which is, I think, where humans thrive in a lot of cases. And
hmm
so, how can you get your humans doing human things and the machines doing repetitive, draining, burning out type of things?
yeah. I almost feel like, as you were saying that, I feel like us humans have to retrain our human brains to
Yeah.
think like that. So it's
Yes.
almost like you're training the bots, but you're also training yourself to have this expansion of thought, if you will, because we've been so uh, conditioned to, have to be doing all the things. And like you said, research taking hours, and now it's taking 10, 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
it gives us that time to look at the big picture, to think like the human, and how we want to humanize it. And the other point that I really loved that you talked about was the business strategy, then the marketing strategy. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah. They separate
Um,
them
they
often.
separate them.
Yeah.
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 And they're very much aligned. And so I love that you touched on that point, because that's a huge thing for anyone listening. If you haven't, thought of those two pieces as a combined piece, obviously you look at them separately, but they align together. That's something that you definitely need to do. So thank you for
Yeah.
pointing that out.
Of course, yeah. And so it all starts with like an initial big heavy lift on a strategy. But then to your point, like I typically recommend for our clients doing quarterly strategic planning from there. And then every quarter, again, you're revisiting the business strategy. Are we still aligned? Are we moving in the right direction? Okay, now let's look at the marketing strategy. Let's look at the metrics. Let's look at how things are performing and let's plan out the next quarter. And so I'm a big believer in like quarterly kind of
Totally.
sprints, if you will, or quarterly work for all of business, not just marketing, but especially marketing because it's changing and evolving so fast right now. And you really have to be into the metrics to understand like what you should keep doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And then
Yeah.
to your point about kind of changing our mindset on how we work, I think it's also important to think about your team members as well, because in my case, we run a marketing agency. We have a lot of executors on our team, and I'm asking them to move from executing to managing a process or managing a tool or managing a system, ultimately. And so they're moving also from doers to managers, even though they're managing robots essentially.
Yeah.
But it's still a different skill set to develop, because even if they're managing a process through like ChatGPT, they're going to be so much better managing the process if they can master communication, because they need to give a lot of good information on the front end and they need to give a lot of good feedback and information on the back end to continue for ChatGPT to get better with them. And so you're also asking, it's a mindset shift for leaders, but it's also a mind shift for your team, because you're asking your team to become leaders in a sense as well.
That's amazing. I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. So we're talking about all of this like systems and strategies, and what I wanted to put you on the spot and say, how does this relate to visibility? So how does all of this stuff that we're talking about relate to visibility for the small business owners?
Yeah, I mean, marketing is visibility essentially. And so when we're creating a marketing strategy, what we're looking at are a few key components, not all, but what we're looking at is who's the target market, what message resonates with them, how can you guide them on a customer journey, ultimately, starting with know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. And then we take all of that and we build out a content strategy and growth priorities and an execution calendar. So, like, that's a scaled down version of what we do for strategy, talking through it very fast. But everything that we're doing ultimately is helping to connect with the right audience on the right channels with the right message that then leads to the right product. And that's how you're going to get more visibility, but also through all of that, taking care of people as they move through your customer journey, because the easiest and fastest way to grow in a lot of cases is if you have happy clients that are willing to refer you to everyone that they know, not because you asked them to, but because you took care of them throughout your whole entire customer journey. So they just naturally have conversations about you. And so this all relates, like the marketing strategy should support getting more visibility ultimately.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, good.
So, talk about what your visibility journey has looked like. So, you mentioned in the beginning how you started in the account manager and now you're here as the CEO. Talk about your personal visibility journey.
Yeah, it's been a big growth opportunity for me, because honestly, when I started Duct Tape Marketing, and even I would say as recent as like 7-ish years ago, I was absolutely like terrified of public speaking. Like if we were at a conference table and everyone was going around and they were just like saying their name and where they're from, like that would give me so much anxiety just to say I'm Sara Nay from Boise, Idaho. And so I had to put a lot of work in that, because I've been with the company for a while now. I knew, the goal and the evolution was eventually to step into the CEO seat, and our founder has recently taken a step back to be more of like chief innovation officer, but he's taking a step back from being the face of the brand as much as he was, because he's written 7 books. He's been podcasting since 2005. A lot of people know of John Jantz, who's our founder in the small business space. And so we've worked towards, he's still here, he's still around, he's not going anywhere, but we're also working to getting me to be more of the face of the brand, kind of alongside him for now. And so doing things like obviously podcasting a lot more, speaking at in-person events a lot more. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I'm writing my first book. And I'm very active on LinkedIn. So like those are some steps that I've that I've worked towards practicing and getting more comfortable with, so I could step into being more of the face of the brand and more of like thought leadership in the space type of role.
Now, did you ever think that you would be writing a book? Has that been a passion of yours, or is it just something that was a visibility tool for you?
It was so I've because he's written 7 books, so people have asked me over the years, like, when are you going to write a book after I got, at least 10 years of experience under me, and like, when are you going to write a book? And I was always kind of like, oh, I'm not really an author. Like, that's his thing. I don't really like it. But then, I have been very passionate about this topic of helping small businesses lead with strategy and take back control of their marketing by building AI systems. Like that's the whole foundation of the book. It's called Unchained, Breaking Free from Broken Marketing Models. And I am very passionate about this topic. And so it's making writing it finally something I felt like it was something I felt like I should do. And now it's something that I feel like I need to do. So it's making the writing process a lot easier. And I'm excited about it. So,
That's awesome. That's the best thing is when you're excited about, and so passionate about what you're putting into words because as
yeah.
you know, books live forever, right? This book is going to be around for so long and it's going to help so many people and when you put your heart and passion into it, it's just going to make it so much better. So I personally can't wait to read it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I would love to wrap this up with just kind of some piece of advice or any like just words of wisdom, if you will, for so the women entrepreneurs who are listening and where they can get started, what they need to know, how they can get to this point and, feeling comfortable with visibility and marketing or success and growth. So if you can just share a little bit, I'd love to have you do that.
Yeah, of course. So on the marketing piece, I would say if it feels very overwhelming right now, you're not alone. Like marketing feels very overwhelming to most people I speak to right now, including myself, because it's changing so fast. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, like my advice is pause, take a step back and really work on some of the strategic components that we talked about and think about building systems to elevate your team because that's going to get you going from completely overwhelmed to feeling like you have more of a plan in place. And I can say that from experience because I've seen it happen so many times over the years with the clients we work with. They're overwhelmed, they're stressed, and then all of a sudden they can breathe because they have a plan that they believe in. So take a breath, take a step back, think through that. And then on the visibility side of things, if you're like myself that was, completely overwhelmed and nervous speaking, I just started doing it more and I kept doing it more. And I read a book once, I can't remember what it was, that talked about, when you're nervous for public speaking and you have that like energy and the shakes coming up, like you can either acknowledge that as like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, I'm going to mess up, or you can acknowledge it as I'm really excited and grateful to be here. And that one shift alone made it so much easier for me to be comfortable more before I was in public speaking opportunities.
Love that. That's so wise and very helpful because I think, like you said, many people can, it's like the fight or flight, right? Like
Yeah.
you get that nervousness and you need to either let it propel you, step in with fear and do it anyways. So I love that you shared that and thank you
And
for
it,
being
yeah, of course.
vulnerable and telling
Of course.
everyone.
Yeah, of course. And I will just say, I'll add to it, gets easier every single time too.
Yeah.
I remember because I had my own podcast for a while and I remember like I would just like mess up every introduction and I would just ask weird questions and it was like it's probably painful to listen to those. But then I kept doing it
Yeah.
and it just like flows and it gets so much easier. So I always like that's with anything, like stuff feels super awkward at first, especially
Yeah.
when you're nervous or uncomfortable, but you keep doing it and it gets
Yeah.
better.
That's awesome. Well, you mentioned before you're on LinkedIn, so people I'm sure can reach out to you on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you'll put a post on there when your book comes out so that they can
I
get
will.
get a
More
copy
than
of the
one
book.
post, probably.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, you should. And then anywhere else that you'd like people to connect or follow you?
Yeah, our website's ducttapemarketing.com. And then we have a special page on there, dtm.world/growth. And on that page, there's a bunch of free resources for both the small business owners or the fractional CMOs, agencies, consultants that we serve. So take a look at that.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being a guest. It was a pleasure to meet you, talk with you, learn so much about you, and have you share your story. So I just appreciate you as a guest today.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Tori.